The Gallowgate Shots podcast is sponsored by Tyre Spot, the North East's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Gallowgate Shots YouTube and podcast channel. We are back with another match preview after the absolutely abysmal performance on Monday night. We're dusting ourselves down, we're picking ourselves up, and we're back at it yet again. With Palace away, it's on Saturday, 30th of November. It's a 3 p.m. kickoff at Selhurst Park, and we're going to just jump straight in with the match preview. I'm Scott, I am your host for this one, and this week I'm joined by Joe, Daryl, and Andy. Boys, have we got over that? Have we got over that performance? Have we got over that display? Or are we still hurting?
Yeah, the last game was Forest. We were really good.
Yeah, we just blotted that out of our mind. Does it not happen at all? I think they did a flag display at IKEA. I think I remember that, but I don't remember anything
That
else.
was nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it was nice of them to do that. Yeah. Anyway,
we'll
get on.
He wasn't Alexander the Great, was he? In that game.
Far from it.
Alexander
Far
the
from
Great.
it. Anyways, Crystal Palace, we are moving on. They're 19th in the league, second from bottom on 8 points. They're not having a great start of the season. They could maybe do with 70 million. Who would have thought it? They've got 1 win, 5 draws, and 6 defeats under their belt this season. They've scored 10 goals only. I mean, that's only 3 less than us, but they have conceded 17. So there you go. That gives them a -7 goal difference for you mathematicians out there who were struggling with that one. Some commentator stats, as always. Palace won this exact fixture 2-0 in April. They've last won consecutive league meetings with Newcastle between 71 and 72, which was a run of 3. So we don't want that to happen again. After winning our first 4 Premier League away games against Crystal Palace, we've only won 1 of the last 9 visits to Selhurst Park in the competition. It's 5 draws and 3 defeats. So it's not as bad as it sounds, but it's still pretty shitty. But on the flip of that, we have kept 14 clean sheets in the last 26 Premier League games against Crystal Palace. It's only Aston Villa on 19 and Arsenal on 15, which I was really surprised at, that we've recorded more in the competition. Whilst it's their highest percentage of clean sheets against sides we faced 20 plus times. That's 54%. Again, stats everywhere. Statisticians, mathematicians loving this one. Haven't been unbeaten in 8 Premier League away games against London sides between October 2022 and 2023. October, that was, sorry. That's 4 wins and 4 draws. Newcastle have now lost 6 of their last 8 visits to the capital with only 2 wins, shipping at least 2 goals in 7 of those games. So where decent London run has come to a bit of a halt, you would say there. Just 3 of Crystal Palace's 10 Premier League goals this season have been scored in home games. That's both a league low total and also a league low percentage of 30% in the division so far this season. So it's going to be 0-0, lads. Let's just end it there. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Yeah. Andy, mate, you've been listening to some Crystal Palace fan podcasts. Bit of a mixed bag of their opinions on this one. They've been a bit riled up by that game we shall not speak about on Monday night.
Yeah, you're giving me too much credit. I listened to 1. I haven't been going through the full repertoire of Crystal Palace.
Have they got more than 1?
Oh, they've got a few actually. Yeah. No, it was interesting to hear what they had to say because from the outside, I think everyone was expecting them to kick on a lot this season. They had such an unreal end to last season under Glasner. They were suddenly the best attacking team in the league after being the Roy Hodgson team for 5 million years. So you could tell in the tone of how they were talking that they were so disappointed by how the season's gone. But they've just come off the back of a really good point away at Villa, a game that they think they should have won. And they say that they've been ravaged by injury so far this season. So Eze couldn't really ever get firing so far, and then he's been injured, but he's now apparently coming back. They're at a point in the season now where they know that group to fight relegation is going to get further and further away. So they need to be one of those ones getting out of it rather than one of the ones stuck in it. So they've actually got a game against Ipswich on Tuesday, and they're seeing this game as a chance to build momentum in the season for the first time. They said if they can beat us, they go to that game against Ipswich, and if they win that, they're almost out of it already. So they are. I wouldn't say they were confident, but they've watched. Yeah, a couple of lads on there watched our game against West Ham, which did actually happen, and they said we looked lost. They said we looked leggy, even though we'd had a break, and they really feel like they can get at us with players coming back. So I definitely think this is going to be tricky. And they made the point that I think the other lads will probably make as well, which is no game in the league this season is easy. Every single team's got something to offer, and we saw that against West Ham. You switch off, you make a couple of mistakes, and you suddenly lose a game. So they're definitely more confident than they probably were a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, Joe, because obviously we saw Palace at the end of last season. I mean, they did us 2-0 last season, like we've already mentioned in April. It's not a easy place to go, Selhurst Park. It's quite notorious for them being a bit of a shithouse of a fan base against us as well, with banners and whatever, about our ownership and whatever else. We'll maybe leave it at that. But yeah, not expecting a nice reception, especially not after what went on in the summer with the whole Mark Gahey scenario, and the chairman maybe's sticking his oar in where it wasn't wanted on Talk Sport when it come to that sort of negotiation tactics that maybe didn't work or did work, or however you want to look at it.
I know I'm half expecting the chairman to be giving the fingers to the away fans at some point during the matches. He absolutely hates us.
I'm expecting him to start up front.
No, quite possibly, mate. Quite possibly. Just get a big head on it. Yeah, it is notoriously a bit of a weird ground for us. We've had a mixed bag there. I think whilst they've got the crowd on their side, it's a formidable place to go, and it's a good old school ground. We do kind of struggle there a little bit. They showed against Spurs that they can grind out a good 1-0 win. They can defend doggedly when they need to. I think what will come down to with this match is how open and how much of a risk they're willing to play against us, because they've been playing with 3 at the back for the most part of the season. But they've been to play, from what I've seen, like just from the highlights that I've seen, they've tried to play somewhat expansively in a sort of 3-4-3, and they push the wing backs up, which again makes me that could play into our hands massively. We saw against West Ham, especially in the first 25-30 minutes, getting the ball out wide against a narrow defence cause a lot of issues. And I just feel that if we can get our shooting boots on and we can actually convert some of these chances, we can put a stamp on this game quite early. And I think we need to do that this time round. We can't be wasting chances like we did last time. And from what I've seen with Palace, they do open up a lot of space. So I'm feeling confident despite Monday, because I did see a lot of positive signs, especially in the first half, that we can replicate that form that saw us going into that international break. But we need to be doing that across the 90 minutes, and we need to be, like I say, a lot more clinical in taking advantage of when these teams are giving us space. So we'll see. They're a decent side, but I mean, I think we've got enough in us.
Just before we move away from that, the Palace lads actually think they will go on the front foot for this game. They think they'll probably go back to being a bit more attacking at home with the back and stuff.
You know what? I'm not surprised, because they do have a good attack. Mateta is a really strong and good poacher, and he seems to have a little bit of pace on him. I could be completely wrong, but he does have a bit of pace on him. And you've got the likes of Eze, who's going to be potentially coming back. Dakura as well looked like he had some good passing in him. Like he slotted through a few balls. So they do have that pace and they are dangerous. So, we can't be taking it lightly. They're 19th in the league, but like you said at the start, Scott, they've got 5 draws. So it's not like they're terrible and losing every game. They are
No one's
in
terrible
most of
this
these
year.
games. So exactly, no one's terrible, no one's great. You look at the table. I know everyone knows the table. You look at the table, really close all around. So, 19th doesn't mean 19th of what a couple of seasons ago. It's a completely different kettle of fish right now.
Yeah, and I think Daryl, obviously, the Andy's mentioned there that the Palace fans seem to think they're going to come out all guns blazing. That could suit us. We are struggling against teams that are sitting back and putting, 11, 10 men behind the ball. We prefer teams that'll come out and give us a game because that's where we thrive. We're struggling to break teams down. If teams are breaking themselves down for us, we can play through them easier. That's game on for us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a game that's probably going to again be won in midfield. I'd like to think that the lads have spent a bit of this week working on their attacking positions and even just finishing and working on
And
the
defensive
scenarios.
positions.
Well, exactly after what happened on
Positions.
Monday night. You know what I mean? It's like they've got to be working on those attacking phases about what happens when the ball goes into the box from wide and who's where and picking up those right positions in the box to really, I think Isak needs to have a couple of finishing sessions, really, given his recent form, especially on Monday night. But yeah, I think a lot of this is going to come down to midfield, and you're absolutely, yeah, well, you're absolutely right.
Disallowed goal, that finish was pretty smart, but
it was. But like some of the other chances that you had, that just you would have put your house on them, putting them in the net, and they just didn't sit. But again, I think it's going to be one of these ones that's going to be one in midfield, and as much as I agree, Scott, that it is, if Palace want to play on the front foot and come at us, then we will exploit them and we will cause them damage. But again, we're going into this looking at the potential of missing 2 big players in midfield, and there's going to be, I reckon, there'll probably be a little bit of rotation if they're not fit enough to play on Saturday. Of course, I mean Bruno and Willock in that. I think we'll probably see Dan Burn come straight back in as centre half. As much as Lloyd Kelly got some praise for his performance on Monday night, I still feel like we missed Dan Burn's presence. I feel like he's just a slightly better footballer than Lloyd Kelly is at centre half. So that'll probably bring a bit of balance. But you're right, we really do have a problem of struggling to break teams down that sit. We saw it on Monday night. We saw it in fact, I think I said a couple of times on Monday night in the group chat that it was just a rerun of the Brighton game, apart from the fact that West Ham managed to score a second goal, because it was exactly the same sort of problem where we didn't finish our chances, we didn't take our opportunities, and we got punished for it. And I think, it's one of these things where we really need to either invite teams onto us and deal with that pressure, or we need to start learning how to break teams down. And unfortunately, at the minute, it's just a massive weakness of ours, and we just don't seem to have the answers.
The worrying thing, though, is that we were getting worse with every sub that we made, and we couldn't see the game. I was going to say we couldn't see the game out 90 minutes because obviously we were chasing the game, but we couldn't
get control of
it. We couldn't take control. We couldn't cause an influence and redirect the game, and that's really concerning. I'm going to give Wilson a little bit, of leeway, given it was his first game back in about 4 years. So he's going to take some time to get back up to scratch. But he was completely ineffective. Murphy was.
He should have won a penalty, mind.
All right,
he should have. That was dumb on Ashley Young from last season. That was crazy. But Murphy was brought on to ping balls in the box like 4-4-2, rewinding it back to Shearer and Ferdinand, and it obviously didn't work out. So I do think I'm going back a little bit on the West Ham game, but I thought taking Joe Linton off and losing that man in midfield absolutely screwed us. And I just want to see us be a bit more. We have a strong bench. We do have a strong bench, but it needs to be used a little bit more effectively, and we can't give up on what was making us cause so many chances in the first half just because they weren't getting put away.
Well, let's talk a little bit about our bench, Andy. I mean, we've saw a few players go off on Monday night, you had obviously Joe Willock earlier on in the game go off. Tino Livramento went off with a bit of a knock. Bruno's went off at the end of the game, limping almost. We don't know what's happened with them. We're doing this before Eddie Howe's presser as always, but if those three aren't fit to face Palace, that bench is bare bones again. And we're starting the players who were on that bench who you thought could come on and make an impact.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the bench for that West Ham game, which did happen, it was the first time in ages that I looked at the bench and actually said, you know what, all across the board, maybe not Dubravka, but that's another conversation. All across the board, I was pretty happy with all of it. And I felt like that was the first time in maybe a full season that we've been able to do that. And I think, with going back to the Palace lads that I was listening to, and they'd agree with Daryl in saying that this game's going to be won in the midfield. They worry about Joe Linton and Bruno and how dogged they are and how determined they are. They worry that we can maybe turn them over and get chances that way. But yeah, we can't be affording to go back to where we were. We've finally got to a position where Isak and Wilson are both fit together. All our midfielders are fit together with Miley on the way as well. Botman coming back. We don't want to be in a position where then Bruno's pulling his hamstring, Gordon's doing something. It's just a cursed club in terms of injuries if that happens. But I think with the West Ham subs, I don't want to overanalyze it because it was just one of those games where I think we could have been bringing on Vinicius Junior and it just wouldn't have happened. For some reason, they just weren't at the races. And we've got Barnes, who was ineffective when he came on. Tonali didn't really get a chance to get into the game. I actually thought Trippier, when he came on, I was quite impressed with his mentality, because he came on and he was really chasing the game. Even on 95 minutes, he was chasing throw-ins, shouting at people, trying to do something. So there's options there for Eddie Howe, and I'm hoping that these lads realise that they're not set in stone in terms of being in the team. Someone like Bruno can have his position taken from him now. We've got people like Tonali. I just think with Howe, he hasn't had much of a chance to actually have a full squad yet, so he needs to learn as well how to use these subs effectively in games and get a hold of games. We've criticised him plenty in the past for his rubbish subs. If it's a few games further down the line with a full squad and he's still making rubbish subs, then I'll be more critical of him. But I think for now we've got to give him time to work it all out.
Agreed.
Yeah, and Daryl, it's not just about making rubbish subs; it's also about picking the right starting 11 to begin with. And with this squad like this, we've not criticised Howe, but Howe's quite renowned for not making changes.
Mm-hmm.
But when you've got a squad like we have now, maybe you have to rotate when people don't perform. It isn't a case of, we'll give you one more chance. Maybe it's a case of, you haven't performed, you don't get your start next week. So we can't just do it. It's a one-off. It's not a just in case. It's a right. You've lost your spot, and that's what gets people performing.
Yeah, I think many people will see that as a stick to beat Eddie Howe with as well, is that he likes to keep a settled 11. And do you know what it is? If it was possible where we could do that in the perfect world, then of course you would, because it keeps the momentum going in all the positions. But you're absolutely right in that, players need to be aware that there is competition for places in that team. And, like you say, if Bruno isn't performing, then Sandro can come in straight away and occupy the position he would on the pitch. And it goes now that the squad is getting fuller again with players coming back from injury, that is something that should be sounded out to every member of the squad. If Wilson can manage not to get injured again in the next 10 minutes, then, Isak should be made aware that if you don't start, if you aren't going to thrive off the pressure of having Wilson behind you, then Wilson's going to take your spot. And again, that goes across the whole pitch. And I do feel a little bit sorry for Miggy Almiron, who must be shaking his head and wondering what the hell's going on when he can't get on ahead of Jacob Murphy on the right wing. But again, the players need to have that. Yeah, exactly.
Joe Linton start on the right.
The players need to have that. They need to have. In fact, they need to be breathing down each other's necks, no matter if they're starting or not, because that competition will fuel growth and it will fuel determination on the pitch, and then in turn that will help us get the results that we want.
Yeah. Do you see many changes, Joel? Do you see any changes unless they're forced because of injury?
I've been thinking about this. It's entirely possible that he makes a few changes. Just it's hard. It's really difficult because I feel like you can't keep Tonali out the side for long, especially where after a performance like that, But then at the same time, I don't want it to be too reactionary and completely change the system that got us that momentum in the first place. if Willock and Joe Linton are fit, I want to see Joe Linton back on that left-hand side and Gordon on the right, because that was working really well.
Yeah,
it worked. It was working really well. And yeah, we've had one poor game where Joe Linton was out on the right initially, and then they kind of swapped and interchanged. But I just, we have to remember how well we were playing just before the international break.
Yeah, we don't have to rip the whole thing up, do we?
No,
exactly. So I think it's obviously it's completely fair to be reactionary, like as fans, and say, oh, this performance was shocking on Monday night. Like, just Tonali needs to come in. Like, thingy needs dropped, and it's like, well, hang on a second. Okay, you can have a bad day at the office. Look at Man City and what's happening with them. At the end of the day, I still think we found a system that does work, but we just need to be careful. I do want to see Tonali getting a few more minutes, though, for sure. Like, whether he comes in for Bruno, like we said, or even if I want to say Willock, but I really do like Willock, and I think he's been instrumental, so it's difficult. Longstaff actually thought he got a bit of stick for some reason on Monday, and I thought he was one of our
Longstaff got stick.
And shocking, eh?
Bloody hell! First time for everything.
Leave him alone, man.
Yep. Sky is still blue. Yep.
Yeah, I know. But in actual fact, I thought he did quite well. I thought he did quite well on Monday. So no, obviously Burns could have come back in. Daryl, you said earlier that Kelly got a bit of praise on Monday night. To be honest, I've only seen stick against the line.
Yeah, I've only seen stick for Kelly.
And it wasn't his fault for the goal.
I did see a little bit of a very small corner of defence of Kelly on the socials.
I still like it.
I didn't see any defence from Kelly, but that was his game. Sorry.
I agree with you, though. I would still rather have Dan Burn back in there, because I think he's just better.
Well, especially like against the likes of Mateta and stuff. But I mean, look, just in quick defence of Kelly, he wasn't brought in as starting centre back. Once Botman's back to fitness, Lascelles is back to fitness. I think Kelly and Lascelles are probably going to be competing for that sort of fourth spot, whatever it is. So he did a job, and he had a bad day at the office.
But on the flip side, a game at home against West Ham is exactly the sort of game he should be able to come in and do fine.
Fair. Yeah. Absolutely fair.
Because if he can't do it against them, it's like, what's the point of having him?
I know it's a completely fair point, but then he did well against Chelsea in the cup, didn't he?
Yeah, I actually think he's all right as well.
Yeah, he's not bad. He was just resting.
But yeah. So
exactly.
We'll see.
Daryl, mate, it's time.
Yes.
Who's the man in the middle, and do they have hair?
Don't have a jingle for this, man.
We don't have a jingle. There's a little graphic that'll appear right about now as I click my fingers, but apart from that, there's nothing else. We're not making jingles, Joe. However,
it's very crystal.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Should be jingle bells.
Okay, so man in the middle for the game on Saturday is Darren England from South Yorkshire. First appointment of the season for Mr. England with the NUFC in a game. The last time we saw him referee a Newcastle game was the 1-1 draw against Brighton back in May. And that also followed a 1-0 loss at Luton last December. So we only saw him twice last season, and you have to go as far back as May to the last time we saw him involved in a game. His record for this season, he's actually not done that many games this season, considering how far in we are. He's done 4 games this season, issuing 21 yellows and 2 reds. VAR for this one is our man from down under, Jared Gillett, back in charge. It's his 3rd VAR appointment of the season. That's after the home game against Arsenal, the away game at Chelsea, where he was VAR official, and also he was the referee in the game against Man City back in September.
When you called him Mr. England, I just pictured like a bald, massive guy with tattoos.
Like
bulldog tattoos.
I'm Darren England has hair, so there you go.
Oh, okay, right, fair enough.
Might see
a bit more of him.
Yeah,
might see a bit more of him in the coming months, given him the recent vacancy in the ref slot. So
yeah, good point.
Good point indeed. Okay then. Well, there you go.
Exactly.
Well, let's come to our predictions. Andy, mate, let's come to you first.
Cheers. I reckon,
you're welcome.
Yeah, I think we'll bounce back. Actually, I've had some horror shows at Palace. I went to the 5-1 defeat when Pardew was their manager. and me and my dad just were in the bar and we just heard Glad All Over playing every 5 minutes, and we were like, I think that's 5. I've got no idea. So I'm hoping to avenge that, even though it was so long ago now. I fancy us to bounce back. I think it's going to be a really tough game. I just don't fancy us to keep a clean sheet still, but I just think we'll just get, like, we've made those points about being away from home, inviting teams onto us. I think that's going to suit us a lot more. So I'm going to say 2-1 win. I'm actually going to say that Dan Burn will get us a goal from a set piece and Isak penalty at the end.
There you go. Joe, mate, what are you going to go for?
I'm also going to go 2-1 on the basis of what I said earlier about the space that Palace, in gift to teams. We do tend to create a lot of chances, especially down the wings. Obviously that's our bread and butter, and I've seen too many individual and team errors from Palace this season to suggest anything other than we'll grab a couple and we'll start putting them away. And I think that we'll want to make amends for Monday night. I reckon Isak will get on the score sheet given the spaces in the box, and I'll say Joe Linton gets one as well. He's been in decent form, and I reckon he'll be doing his little charging into the box and probably score a massive ball header or something from 18 yards.
Like Souček.
He's going to run into the box and score a header from 18 yards. That'll be impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. He's running, he headers it, and he just carries the momentum with the ball.
Shaolin soccer style.
Aye.
Nice. Daryl, what are you going for?
Don't you dare say 2-1.
I swear to God, Daryl. Do it.
Does he even know I've spoken to him, Daryl?
Daryl?
Well, Mr. Pessimism strikes again. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Hello, I'm here.
He's on satellite today.
Hang on.
For once, it's Jasmine's internet acting up and not mine.
Well, how are we sounding now?
1-1.
Is that better?
It was 5-1 with me. 1-1, we heard you.
Yeah, that's it.
Cheers.
Who's scoring? Oh, goodness. Gordon, why not?
It's the height of professionalism.
Because he's not been very good.
So a lot of them, mate. If you base it on West Ham.
I love Anthony. I love him. He's great. He'll be fine. He'll do good this season. Scotty boy, what's yours, man? Come on.
I'm going to go for a horrible, dirty, minging 1-0 win.
I'll take it, mate. Let's go.
Best kind.
But I'll take. Yeah, we'll take it. I just think it's going to be one of them games where I think we're going to be really nervous going into it based on what happened on Monday. I think we'll get a reaction from us, but I don't think it'll be as rosy as we'd like it to be. I think it'll be I just think the atmosphere is going to be horrible just from kickoff. Or even before kickoff, and I just think it's going to be just a minging day. I don't think the weather's going to be great. I think this storm hasn't pissed off. We've got it here at the minute. I think it's still going to be minging around, and it's just going to be horrible. Huh?
Is it a 3 o'clock or is it on Saturday?
It's a 3 o'clock. Yeah, Saturday 3 o'clock. It's not even on the tally. It's just So yeah, but we'll come away with 3 points. It'll be the sunshine through the clouds at the end of it all. But yeah, and I'm going to go for. Because last week I said we haven't had many goal scorers, let's go for a Jacob Murphy.
Oh my word!
Free kick. There we go.
Wow!
Pull it right out the bag.
Don't do drugs, kids.
I tell you what, right? If that happens,
I know you're in Amsterdam.
It's definitely going to have been a minging game if that's what happens.
That's what I mean. That's what it's going to be. It's like.
Is it going to be? Hang on, but what kind of free kick are we talking? Like 07, 08 Cristiano.
He's going to kick the ball at the back of the net.
Talking John Joe Shelby against Leeds kind of free kick.
What have I
Knuckleball top bins.
Yeah, knuckleball top bins. It's going to be Ronaldo special.
No, I tell you what, it'll be like that one he scored at Wolves away, where he put it on the floor and it did the keeper at the near post.
Well, like under the wall, they're not going to put a draft excluder down.
Can you recreate that for us, Daz?
Well, he sort of went.
What it looked like.
He sort of went. I don't know if it was under the wall. He sort of went round the wall at ground level. It didn't get off the ground at all, and it duped the keeper. And I think it was like in the 88th or 89th minute down at Wolves a couple of years ago under Steve Bruce. and he rescued with a point.
Well,
There you
if
go.
if that happens again, I'll do the next preview in my pants a la Gary Lineker.
Deal.
It ain't happening.
There you go. Well, I might not be doing the next
You won't
preview.
actually be able to
What's it
see
for,
that from here,
Liverpool?
though, so it's just going to be like you're going to be stark bollock naked.
Even better. Give the fans what they want.
Come on, Jacob, do it for the podcast, mate. You can do it. I think that's enough, lads. I think we're
Everybody
reached the
promises.
pinnacle.
Everybody
Yeah.
promises for membership.
I think we're done. Let us know in the comments below if you think
time for
Jacob
Jacob
Murphy's
Murphy.
going to score on Saturday, and what you think your prediction's going to be, and what you think, how you think the game's going to go. If you're a Palace fan watching this and you're still watching after 29 minutes and 36 seconds, let us know how you think the game's going to go. What do you think your season's been like so far this season? Do you think you should have sold Mark Gahey to us for a bargain price of 70 million? Do you think your chairman bit off a bit more than he could chew, or do you think he did a good job in keeping a superstar player, in his words? Let us know in the comments below. And do you think you're going to lose him in January for 40 million, like you probably will do, if we come back in from, if we dare? Let's see what happens there. If you've liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't liked it, how dare you? But give it a thumbs down. We don't care. Just engage. That's all we want. Yeah, but just give it a thumbs up as well, whatever. While you're down there, if you like this sort of content, hit the subscribe button to see more of it in your YouTube feeds. And if you want to know when the videos that we post go live, you can hit the notification bell and you'll get a notification on your device of choice. And if you want to go one step further, we do have a membership program. It's $2.99 a month. That gets you early access to videos like this one, as well as exclusive content and access to the Telegram group. Right, boys, I've had enough. I'm going. No. Cheers, everybody. We'll see you all in the next one. What's the next one? Liverpool, isn't it? Yeah, no, I've had enough. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done. I'm hoping we need 3 points before Liverpool, so let's hope for the best. But cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all in the next one.
God help you.